Close your eyes for a moment and imagine Texas in 1960. A state in the midst of transformation, where oil gushed from drilling towers across the Permian Basin, where cowboys still rode through ranches in West Texas, and where cities like Houston and Dallas were growing at a breathtaking pace. It was a time when a dollar was worth far more than it is today, and the prices of practically everything would make anyone from our modern era drop their jaw in disbelief. In this year, Houston was the largest city in Texas, with a population of nearly 940,000 people. Dallas came in close behind, with about 680,000 residents. The state was experiencing a period of prosperity, driven primarily by the oil industry, which had transformed Texas from a rural economy based on cotton and cattle into an industrial and energy powerhouse. But let's get to what really matters. How much did things actually cost in 1960 Texas? Let's start with the basics. The food that arrived at the tables of Texas families every single day. A gallon of milk cost approximately 49 cents. A dozen eggs would set you back around 57 cents. Bread, that essential item in any kitchen, cost only 20 cents per loaf. And ground beef, so present in those legendary Texas barbecues, was sold for about 45 cents per pound. If you wanted to prepare a good steak for dinner, a quality cut cost approximately 89 cents per pound. Bacon, that beloved breakfast staple, was around 65 cents per pound. And to accompany your meal, a can of green beans cost just 10 cents. Sugar, a fundamental ingredient for desserts, cost 52 cents for a 5-pound bag. A pound of coffee, essential for getting through those early Texas mornings, would run you about 75 cents. For the kids, a Hershey chocolate bar cost only 5 cents. A pack of chewing gum also went for a nickel. And if you stopped by a diner for a Coca-Cola, you would pay just 10 cents for that refreshing drink. A full meal at a local restaurant, including a hamburger, fries, and a drink, would cost you around 50 cents total. Can you even imagine that today? Now, let's talk about something bigger. Housing. In 1960, the median home price in Texas was approximately $11,900. That's right, you could buy a brand new 3-bedroom house with a nice yard for under $12,000 in the more upscale neighborhoods of Dallas or Houston. Prices might climb to $15,000 or even $20,000 for a larger property. But for the average working family, a comfortable home was well within reach. Monthly rent for an apartment in Texas averaged between $71 and $90 per month, depending on the city and the neighborhood. A nice 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area of Houston or Dallas might cost you around $85 monthly. Compare that to today's rental prices, where a similar apartment could easily cost $1,500 or more. And you begin to understand just how different things were back then. Speaking of monthly expenses, let's discuss utilities. The average electricity bill for a Texas home was around $8 to $12 per month. Natural gas for heating and cooking added another $5 to $8. A telephone line, still considered something of a luxury by some families, cost about $4 to $6 monthly for basic local service. Long-distance calls were charged by the minute and could get expensive quickly, so families often wrote letters instead. Now, let's step outside and talk about transportation. In 1960, the American automobile industry was at its peak, and Texans loved their cars as much as they loved their state. A brand new Ford Falcon, one of the most popular compact cars of the era, started at around $1,912. The Chevrolet Impala, a larger and more luxurious option, cost approximately $2,590. And if you had money to spare and wanted to turn heads, a Cadillac would set you back around $5,000 or more. But it wasn't just the price of the car that was shockingly affordable. A gallon of gasoline in Texas cost only about 25 to 31 cents. You could fill up your entire tank for less than $5. Car insurance averaged around $50 to $100 per year, not per month like we pay today. And if your car needed repairs, a visit to the mechanic wouldn't break the bank either. Labor rates were just a few dollars per hour. For those who preferred public transportation or needed to travel long distances, a bus ticket from Houston to Dallas cost around $6. A train ticket for the same route was slightly more expensive, but offered a more comfortable journey. And if you were really in a hurry and had the budget for it, a plane ticket from Houston to Dallas on Braniff Airways or Texas International cost approximately $14 to $18. Let's shift our focus to clothing, because Texans in 1960 certainly knew how to dress. A man's dress shirt cost between $2 and $5. A good pair of slacks would run you $6 to $10. A quality suit, essential for any businessman, cost between $35 and $65. And those iconic cowboy boots that every true Texan needed. A fine pair from a local bootmaker costs around $20 to $40. For women, a nice dress cost between $8 and $15. Nylon stockings, an absolute necessity in that era, were about $1 per pair. A woman's hat, still commonly worn in 1960, cost $5 to $15, depending on the style, and a pair of high-heeled shoes would set a lady back around $8 to $12. Children's clothing was even more affordable. A boy's jeans cost about $2 to $4. A girl's dress was $3 to $6, and a pair of children's shoes averaged $4 to $7. Families with multiple children could clothe everyone for what a single pair of designer jeans costs today. Now let's talk about entertainment, because life in 1960 Texas wasn't all work and no play. A movie ticket cost between 50 cents and $1, depending on whether you went to a regular theater or one of the fancy new establishments. The drive-in theaters, enormously popular in Texas at the time, often charged by the carload, meaning a family of 5 could enjoy a film for just $1 or $2 total. If sports were more your thing, a ticket to see the brand new Dallas Cowboys, who played their first season in 1960, cost between $2 and $6 depending on your seat. The Houston Oilers of the New American Football League charged similar prices, and a ticket to a high school football game, a sacred Texas tradition, was typically just 50 cents to $1. For entertainment at home, a brand new television set cost between $200 and $500, depending on the size and features. This was actually one of the more expensive purchases a family could make. A radio, on the other hand, costs between $15 and $50. And a record player to enjoy the latest hits from Elvis Presley or Buddy Holly, the Texas-born rock and roll legend, cost around $30 to $100. Speaking of records, a single 45 RPM record cost about 89 cents, while a full LP album was priced between $3 and $5. A paperback book cost 25 to 50 cents, and a subscription to the Dallas Morning News or the Houston Chronicle was just a few dollars per month delivered right to your doorstep. Healthcare in 1960 was remarkably different from today, both in cost and in practice. A visit to the doctor cost approximately $3 to $5. If you needed to stay in the hospital, the daily rate was around $25 to $35, which seems almost unbelievable when compared to today's costs of thousands of dollars per night. Having a baby, including several days of hospital stay, cost approximately $200 to $300 total. Prescription medications were also far more affordable. Common medicines cost just a few dollars. Aspirin was 10 to 15 cents for a small bottle, and dental care, while not pleasant, was at least affordable. A tooth extraction cost about $3 to $5, and a filling was similar. Education was another area where costs were dramatically lower. Tuition at the University of Texas at Austin was approximately $100 to $150 per semester for state residents. Room and board added another $300 to $400 per semester. A hardcover textbook cost $5 to $10. A complete college education could be obtained for what a single year costs at many universities today. But what about wages? How much were Texans actually earning in 1960? The average annual income in the United States was approximately $5,315. In Texas, wages varied depending on the industry. Oil field workers were among the highest paid, earning good wages that could support a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. Factory workers earned around $80 to $100 per week. Teachers made approximately $4,000 to $5,000 per year, and the minimum wage stood at just $1 per hour. When we look at these numbers together, we start to understand something important. Yes, prices were dramatically lower in 1960, but wages were also much lower. The key difference, and this is what many economists point to, is the ratio between income and essential expenses, like housing, education, and healthcare. In 1960, a median-priced home in Texas cost roughly 2 to 3 times the average annual income. Today, that ratio has stretched to 5, 6, or even 7 times annual income in many areas. Texas in 1960 was a land of opportunity, a place where a working man could buy a home, raise a family, and live comfortably on a single income. The oil industry was booming. The space race was about to put Houston on the map as home to NASA's mission control, and the future looked bright and full of promise. Looking back at these prices from our perspective today, it almost seems like a fantasy world. A world where you could buy a house for the price of a modern compact car. A world where filling up your gas tank costs less than a fancy cup of coffee costs today. A world where a family could go to the movies, have dinner at a restaurant, and still have change left over from a $10 bill. But here's the thing. For the people living in 1960 Texas, these weren't amazing bargains. These were just the normal prices of everyday life. They didn't know that 6 decades later, their grandchildren and great-grandchildren would look back at these numbers with a mixture of nostalgia and disbelief. The next time you fill up your gas tank and wince at the price, or pay your monthly rent, or look at the cost of groceries, take a moment to think about 1960 Texas. Think about those 25-cent gallons of gas, those 20-cent loaves of bread, and those $12,000 houses. It wasn't really that long ago, but in terms of what things cost, it might as well have been a different world entirely. And that, my friends, is what everything cost in Texas in 1960. A time that's gone, but certainly not forgotten, preserved in these prices that remind us just how much the world has changed in the span of a single lifetime.